What's up, guys? This is Daniel Contriguero with the Defense Lab, and this is episode 2 of our Ehud setup guide. So in this episode, we're going to be setting the sheath up, and I'm going to be showing you guys different carry positions, as well as how to actually set the sheath up for those carry positions. So we'll talk through some of those carry positions, the ones that I prefer and why I like them, but as well as some other carry positions that you might prefer more than I do. Starting off, this is our Ehud V2 sheath. Now this is an ambidextrous sheath, meaning the blade can go in this direction or this direction. So it's ambidextrous. It doesn't really matter which side you guys set this up on. So if I'm setting it up on the opposite side that you would like your knife, don't worry about it. You'll just flip the way that the knife's sitting in there around and you'll be good to go. On the top here, we have our discrete carry concepts clip. These are super nice clips. That's why we put them on there. We love these. They go on and they don't come off unless you want them to come off. Because of that though, they can be a little bit tricky to get on and off if you don't really know how to do it. So I'll give you guys a trick here, or kind of the way that I like to do it, that makes it super simple. So what you'll see is there's a tooth in there, and that's what locks onto either your belt or onto your clothing, and that's what's going to keep it so secure. So we need to really make sure that tooth is out of the way to get it down onto our belt or onto our clothing, and then make sure that tooth is back out of the way to get it off. So what I like to do is I like to take my thumb at the top of the clip, middle finger at the bottom of the sheath, just like that. And then my pointer finger is going to come in here right underneath this lip, and I'm going to lever off of the top of the clip with my thumb, off the bottom of the sheath with my middle finger, and I'm going to pull that clip way out. That's going to give you a lot of space to get this on and off your belt or on and off your clothing. So from there, if I'm going to put it down onto my belt, I'll come through here, put the tip of the sheath down into my pants, move my middle finger, and now I can still lever that clip out. And instead of my middle finger being on the tip of the sheath, now it's my pants, and I can slide that right down and make sure that tooth clips over top of your belt. So make sure that tooth gets over and then back up underneath your belt. Now, that's not going anywhere. You're not going to pull that knife off of your belt. To get it off, we're going to do the same thing, but since that tooth is cut up underneath of our belt, as we start pulling that clip out, we actually want to push the sheath and the clip down to release that tooth, or release the clothing or the belt from that tooth before we start pulling it out. So thumb's going to go on top of the clip, middle finger is going to go down to the bottom of the sheath, which is down in my pants. I'm just going to go through my pants though. And then my pointer finger is going to come underneath of that lip. I'm going to push down, out, and then pull it up. And now it's coming off nice and easy. And it's gonna be the same thing if you're not using a belt. And that's what's really nice about these clips. You definitely don't need a belt for these to latch onto, for these to hang onto really tight. You could be in yoga pants, swim shorts, gym shorts, sweatpants, anything, and these are gonna latch onto it. That tooth is gonna hold nice and secure. All right, so I popped my belt off real quick just to show you what this would look like if you were going behind your belt or without using a belt. It's gonna be the same thing, middle finger at the point of the sheath, thumb over top of the back of the clip, and then pointer finger is going to lever this out. I'm going to go down into my pants here, and that locks on nice and secure. Same thing coming out. I'm going to push down as I pull the clip out, just to release any material that may have gotten stuck up underneath of that tooth, and then pull it out. It comes off nice and easy, goes on nice and easy if you use that trick. So just make sure you're really levering that clip out. If not, you could definitely rip your clothing if that tooth is stuck up underneath your clothes and you just try to rip the sheath off. Last thing you guys need to know to set this sheath up for your different carry positions is that you can actually adjust the cant of this clip. So it's going to come with the clip straight up and down, and that's fine for a lot of carry positions. A lot of people are going to be comfortable with that. But if you want to move this blade so that it sits at one direction or the other, you're going to take just a regular Phillips head screwdriver, loosen that top screw. If the bottom screw is really tight, you may have to loosen that a bit too. So that top screw is loosened, and now we can move this clip left or right, however far we want, to the end of that slot on the clip. Once it is where you want it, you'll take your screwdriver again, crank that screw down, make sure the bottom screw is tightened up as well, and then that's going to stay right there at an angle. So now if I was running the sheath straight up and down, my blade's going to be off to an angle. As far as carry positions go with your blade and with your sheath, you need to decide if you want to draw this into an ice pick grip with the point down, or into a hammer grip with the point up. I really prefer the ice pick grip just as far as using the blade in a defensive encounter, but there are some people that like to go into a hammer grip. I'm going to show you a few more options for the ice pick grip just because there is more options for it, but I'll also give you an option if you do want to draw it into that point up hammer grip as well. Starting here with my preferred way. So I like to carry the blade forward of my hips and then on the side that I'm actually going to draw to between my belly button and my hip bone. So I like to draw this out with my right hand. So I'm going to put it between my right hip and my belly button. The reason I like it forward of the hips is because you can still access it with either hand if one of your hands gets trapped. Another reason I like it forward of the hips is because I can protect it a little bit easier. It's out in front of me. My hands are in front of me. If I'm fighting against somebody and maybe I don't want them to feel that I have the knife on me, or I don't want them to grab it, my hands are going to be out in front of me anyway already. So it's a little bit easier to protect, and I don't have to reach as far, opening up areas for people to grab onto my arm like if it was behind my hip. I also like to put it on the same side that I'm drawing to. Okay, so I'm drawing out with my right hand, the blade's on my right side. So I can draw here without ever having to reach across my body. That means I can blade my body away, I can start framing out with my opposite hand, and I can draw in out here without somebody being able to crash in on me and trap this arm nearly as easy. Whereas if I was going to draw it with my left hand, but it's over past my belly button onto my right side, now I can still blade away here, but as somebody's crashing in, there's more of a chance that they're going to pin my arm to me, and now I'm not going to be able to get my blade out, or if I get it out, I may not be able to use it. So I really do like to keep the blade between my hip and my belly button on the same side that I'm drawing to. That way I can blade away, I can start framing off of this person, and then I can start working to get that blade out. As far as how I actually carry the Ehud, I carry it behind my belt rather than on my belt. I do that for two reasons. One, when it's on your belt, you have a lot less adjustability as far as cant goes. Even though we can cant this clip, you're only going to get so much adjustability. Whereas behind the belt, it's a less rigid structure running it on your actual pants, so it can move with your body a little bit. It might be a little bit more comfortable for you, a little bit easier to move, and then we can actually run it like I run it at a very extreme angle. So I'm going to show you how I do that. I'd like to take my belt, I'll loosen my belt out if I'm running a belt, and then same way I told you guys to get the clip on, right? We're going to lever that clip out, and I run it at a nice extreme angle, sort of like this, okay? Once that's on there, I'll tighten my belt up. This is a Tenacor Zero belt. It's a super nice belt. I really like it for carrying knives and guns. And then I can put my shirt back over it, and it's nice and concealed. I like this extreme angle because I can bend over top of it from above my waist, and the handle isn't gonna push into my stomach, as well as when I sit down, or if I bend my knees, right? I can get my knees up, and with that blade angled in that crease of my hip, I can get my knees up nice and high. I can still sit down, I can stand up, I can run, jump, fight, whatever I need to do with this on, and it's not impeding my mobility in any way. So from there, there's a lot of different ways that you can draw this. I can clear my garment with the draw hand. I can clear my garment with my other hand. I might be framing off of somebody, but I'm gonna come down with my right hand onto that blade, and then I can draw it up into an ice pick grip. And this is really where I like to work from. As far as other carry positions go, to draw this out into a tip down ice pick grip, we can run this clip straight up and down, okay? Just like this. And I can run this on my belt or behind my belt at more of a straight up and down. A lot of people like that and are comfortable with that. And now I can draw out from there. I can also cant this clip again. And when I cant this, I'm going to cant it towards where this flag is pointing, okay? So when I cant it that way, I can now put it over my belt, just like that, and the blade's a little bit more canted. With it this way, it's going back towards my hip. I get a little bit of that angle where the blade's sitting down into the crease of my hip where my leg bends, and I can still get really good movement there, even running it over top of the belt, but it's a little bit more of a sturdy, little bit more of a consistent draw of where this is gonna be at, so you may prefer that. Again, from here, I can draw out into an ice pick grip, just like that, nice and easy. So if we're going into an ice pick grip, which is point down, and you want to cant this clip a little bit, if you're closer to your belly button, I will bring the clip towards the side that the flag's pointing to, and that way it's right in front of me, and I can come down with my right hand and draw it out. As we get further around and closer to our hip, we may want to start canting that blade forward so that it's an easier draw. Right here, I can get it up this way. It's going to be a little bit harder if it's canted this way, especially with running into my leg. But as I go towards my hip and behind my hip, I am going to want to cant that blade, not backwards, but forwards, so that I can draw it out this way. So what we would do again, we would loosen that clip, or the screw on the clip, and we're going to take the clip opposite of where that flag's pointing. Crank that back down, and now I can put this over behind my hip. So now this is running canted forward behind my hip. The blade's going down towards my hip. The handle of it's coming forward, and now I can reach back and I can draw right here into my ice pick grip. Some people do like to run it behind the hip. That's not my preferred method, but maybe if you carry a gun on that same side in appendix, you might want to run it on the same side behind your hip. That's just an option, not necessarily what I would suggest, but definitely a solid option. You can run that over your belt, the clip over your belt, or behind your belt, just on your pants. Again, over the belt, you'll have a little bit more rigidity. It might be a little less comfortable, but you'll get a more consistent draw. If you're running it not on the belt or behind the belt, you'll have a little bit more flexibility and movement, maybe a little bit more comfortable, but that blade might be in a little bit different of an area when you go to draw it. I've also had people reach out to me and say they were running it on their belt, like the clip over their belt, but the actual blade not down in their pants. And some people like that a lot too. It does give you a little bit more movement there. So what they're doing is they're running this behind the belt, so the clip goes over the belt, but then the sheath actually sticks out. It's not going down into their pants. So as you can see, especially with this 1.75 inch clip, you do get a little bit of adjustability. You go to watch, make sure your shirt's long enough to cover that. It's about a 7-inch blade, a couple inches sticks down below that clip, but that's also a nice option too, and you can run it out into your ice pick grip. Last way we can run this is actually by removing this clip and putting it on a static line. This is a really cool option. It gives you a lot of versatility and a lot of movement. It can really help with deep concealment if that's something that you need. What we're gonna need for this is a length of Kevlar cord, and we have this available on our website. It's gonna fit through the drain hole. First thing we have to do though is take this clip off. So again, Phillips head screwdriver, we're gonna pull both of these screws out, and then we'll take the clip off. Make sure you don't lose the clip or the screws. If you do, let me know. We can get you the screws or the clips. The clips are also available from Discreet Carry Concepts. But the clip's removed now, so this is a super thin package. All we have is the inserts from where those bolts were. And we're gonna take our length of Kevlar cord and we're gonna run it through the drain hole to start. So let's do that first. We're gonna go in from the top or the bottom, it doesn't really matter. We got the Kevlar cord through, it goes in one side of the drain hole, out the other. It's super easy to get in. And now we need to adjust the length of this cord depending on where we wanna carry it and how deep we wanna carry this. So you can loop this around your belt or a belt loop, or if you want to be super discreet about this and have nothing showing, you can actually loop this over the button on your pants between where the front of your pants and the back of your pants button together. What I like to do to start is I like to go to the very end of this and tie like an overhand knot. Just because now we have the maximum length of this, and then we can make another knot and adjust it after. And then from there, I'll take the trainer out. I'm gonna loop this over my belt. So that just went behind my belt, and then I take the sheath and put it through the loop. That way you can get it on and off. From there, I can put the trainer back in and then see, how far I want this down into my pants. So I may want to run it like right here at about this depth. Maybe you wanna run it deeper and you use that whole length of cord, and then you can draw out from there. I'm gonna wanna run it right here. So I see, okay, we got this much extra. I'm gonna tie a knot maybe another inch down and see how that feels. So I'm gonna unloop this again. And then we're gonna tie another overhand knot about an inch down. And let's try that out again. So we're gonna take it behind our belt, open this up, throw our sheath through it, and then we can put our trainer in, put that down into our pants, and that's perfect. It can't go down any further, and that's right where I want it. So this is really a good option as far as deep concealment goes, because this allows me to now move this around, right? I can jam it down further in my pants. I can turn this completely sideways, so everything's behind my belt. There's nothing above my waistline that somebody could feel. And then once I'm through whatever I need to get through, I can pull that back up right where I want it. As far as your draw goes, as I lift here, the sheath may come out on our draw, but then we're gonna hit the end of that static line. The blade will draw out of the sheath, and your sheath is just left dangling there. To resheath, we'll just put the blade back in the sheath and then put it back into our waistline. Like I said, you can run this over your belt like I did, so I just looped that over my belt. You can loop it around your actual belt loop, say if you don't have a belt on, or you can run it behind the button on your pants. I'll show you that real quick. So I've undone my belt here. I've undone the button on my pants. I'm gonna take this static line and loop it around this button, okay? And then button your pants over top of it. And I would cut off this excess here And now I can stow this sheath. I can redo my belt. I'm gonna throw the blade in the sheath, and now I can run this super deep, and there's nothing coming out over top of the belt. So if I wanted to hide this like super low, just push it way down low. Now nothing's coming out there. There's nothing to see as far as blades, clips, static lines, anything like that. So that's another really cool option. So that's how you run a static line, and we have these static lines available on our website. They're just a few bucks. You'll get a small length of cord, just enough for you to be able to make a static line out of this. And what's cool is you can go back and forth. If you want to put the clip back on, you don't even have to remove the static line. If you're fine with having it on there, you can just leave it on there and bolt this clip back on and run it with the clip with just this cord dangling off of it. And then if you need to pop the clip off, you want to run a static line, you already have that on there. If not, just make sure you tie your knots in a way that you can untie them. This cord isn't too hard to untie if, say, you want to take it off, or if you made the cord too short. Right there, I can untie that loop and open it back up the rest of the way. As far as taking this into a hammer grip, which would be point up, this is a little bit more difficult to do, not just with the Ehud blade, but with any blade. Setting a sheath up to draw out into this point up hammer grip isn't nearly as intuitive as setting up a blade to draw out into a point down ice pick grip. Unless you're gonna run something kind of below the belt that's hanging down at a downward angle, it's a little bit difficult to achieve. But one way you can do that with that Ehud is you can either run the clip straight up and down or canted towards where the flag is pointing to. And then again, we're gonna have to run this at a really extreme angle, kind of like I prefer to do it. So I'm gonna put this into my pants just like I normally do. So here's my extreme angle here, but instead of the flag pointing towards my belly button like I would to draw it into a ice pick grip, we're gonna turn it around and have the flag pointing down almost towards the ground. Now I can come in, and instead of with my pointer finger under the flag, I'm gonna bring my pinky in underneath the flag right there, and I can draw it out into a hammer grip. So that's a few options on how to set your Ehud sheath up, as well as some different carry positions, some of the ones that I like to run, as well as some ones that I know some of you other guys that have your Ehuds like to run it. I hope that helps. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, and make sure you stick around for episode 3, which is going to be how to draw and how to resheath your Ehud blade. Thanks again for checking this out. Thanks again for picking your Ehud up. And again, reach out if you need anything. I'm Daniel Contrigero with the Defense Lab. Thanks for watching.